got a story I want to tell you, and then I'm going to go. We always at night get together and we tell stories and everything. And you might be interested in this. You know, over in Denton's Valley, I don't know how many of y'all ever heard of Denton's Valley. It's just crossed over the lake over there. Heard of Denton's Valley? Sure, some of you have. You have, okay. Well, anyways, just across the lake over there. This old man, Stevens, had this gun, and the gun was 18 inches longer than any made. So it went way up there. And what made that gun so famous was that he killed a deer 3 miles away with it. That's hard to believe, that kill a deer 3 miles away. Well, anyway, everybody in the valley over there wanted to buy that gun. Of course, he wouldn't sell it because he knew if he did, everybody in the valley would be mad at him except the guy who got the gun. And so he refused to sell it. Well, years went by. A lot of them had died off, and somebody over here on the Clinch Mountain heard about that gun. So they come over and went over to Denton's Valley and did an inquiry and finally found an old man that knew Mr. Stevens had that gun. Well, he went down to see Mr. Stevens, and Mr. Stevens, they talked a minute or two, and he told him what he's there for. He said, I understand you got a famous gun. He said, yeah, I killed a deer 3 miles away with it. He said, they claim it's a famous gun. He said, that's just a lucky shot. I'm sure it was at 3 miles, but anyway, that's a long ways to kill a deer. And so, anyway, he said, could I see the gun? And he said, well, yeah, I'll show it to you. And he's getting up in years. So he went in, he got the gun, he couldn't pick it up anymore, so he got it, carrying it out like this, dragging it behind, and turned over a chair, and finally got it through the door, and got it out on the porch, and he laid it down on the porch like that, And the guy come up and looked at it and said, Mr. Stevens, said, that's the prettiest gun I ever saw. Can I pick it up? And he said, yes, you can. He picked it up and looked at it, and sighted, one thing and another, examined the gun. He said, Mr. Stevens, you wouldn't sell that gun, would you? He said, no. I said, if I'd sell that gun, said, everybody in the valley would be mad at me. He said, I got an idea. He said, I'll tell you what. You sell me the gun. I don't tell anybody where I got the gun. You don't tell anybody who you sold the gun to. And at your passing, nobody will know where that gun was. So Mr. Stevens said he had a mortgage coming up, and the guy happened to know for some reason. He said, I know you've got to make a payment on the farm. And said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll pay that mortgage off. You let me have the gun, and that'll make you clear, and I'll have the gun, and you don't tell anybody, and I don't tell them. So Mr. Stevens thought that was a good idea. So he got the gun and stuck it in the car, and he come down through Avenue here about a foot and a half, 2 feet hanging out the window because he couldn't get it in the old car. And so went over on Clinch Mountain. When he got there, his wife come running out and said, your brother died over at Lebanon. And said, we're going to have to go over there and settle the estate while we're there because there's no point in us running backwards and forwards. We don't have time. So they went and gone for about 6 weeks. Got everything, all the estate settled and one thing and another. And when they come back, the rats had got in the house. Did right smart damage. And so his wife sent him down to Mendota. Y'all know where Mendota is? Where's Mendota? Alvarado? No, Mendota. Then sent him down there to see if he find something. So he went into the store down there. He told the guy, said, I've got rats in my house and I'll need something to kill them. The guy said, the only thing I got is rat traps. He said, they're no good after you catch one in so you can't get another one near it. But once in a while you can boil them in lye soap and you can use them again. And he said, well, give me 2 or 3 of them. He said, oh, by the way, he said, the other day there's a guy in here, and he said, you can take one of them old hog rifles. You got one of them? He said, yes, I do have. I forgot about that. So he said what he did, he said he'd take a light load of powder and put in there, and then put in some rock salt. And he'd get up and he'd shoot, and it would kill a rat, but if you hit the baseboard or something like that, or the door jamb, it wouldn't hurt him. So Mr. Stevens had asked him if he'd ever loaded a gun like that, and he said, I can shoot any gun anybody ever made. So Mr. Stevens didn't elaborate on it. He come home, and he went in told his wife, said, I got something I'm going to try. He took a powder horn, he poured that barrel about a third of the way full. And he didn't know what regular salt was, and went and got some rock salt. It's a bigger portion of salt. Put some down in there about rest about up to about here. And he couldn't hold the gun up. It's so heavy. So he got a nail keg that he's using in the house for a seat. And he laid that on that nail keg. It's like a machine gun, you know. He could move it around, you know. When that rat come out, he's going to shoot. Well, sir, he was sitting there looking for that rat. He looked out in the yard, and a covey quail feeding him. You know what a covey quail is? We call them, I don't know what it's white, what I'm trying to think of. Quail. Bob White. Anyway, they was feeding and going in groups, you know. And so he decided, shoot, I'd rather have a quail for supper than I can kill that rat anytime. So he went over and happened to think, well, he said, my goodness, that salt ain't gonna kill no quail. So he happened to think, and he went over to the cabinet, and you boys don't know what Prince Albert can is. Probably most of these other people don't, but anyway, us younger people do. And it's a can they brought their tobacco in. You'd pay 15 cents for a can of Prince Albert tobacco. And they used the tobacco out, and you could have cans all over the place back then. You pay a premium for it today because they're antique. Anyway, the boys had cut off some of the old 12-gauge shotgun shells and poured the buckshot, the bird shot in the Prince Albert case. Well, he was watching the quail in a hurry, you know, and so he reached up there and got the can. He poured in, watched it happen, looked down, and lo and behold, his wife had a Prince Albert can full of carpet tacks. Well, you know what happened? He got the wrong one. So, and he did like that when he saw it, and it flipped one of those tacks about that far down in the barrel, sideways, and it lodged in the barrel. And so he tried everything. Well, he beat on, he did everything. And he said, well, maybe I can get out my knife. So he got it out, knife out and prying around it. Sure enough, he got it loose, but he broke the knife blade off. It fell in two. And so he said, well, I'll just shoot it at him. So he went over and opened the window, you know, just about ready to shoot. Somebody knocked on the door. He just made him mad. He went and jerked the door open and said, what do you want? He said, there's the bears down there getting into Hamilton's barn, trying to tear it down. A bear. And said, what would you? If you got a gun? He said, what do you call this here in my hand? He said, you got any balls for it? And he said, yeah. He went and got a ball, rammed it down in on top of that big room. They went running out, and about a quarter of a mile away, being a lot further than that building down there, that bear was just tearing at the side of the house, barn there, trying to pull the boards off to get that newborn calf. And so he couldn't hold the gun up, and so he run up the hill a little ways, and there's a rock up there, and he's looking down at about like this, you know. And so when he dropped that gun on that rock, it made a racket. That old bear turned around, stood up, and was looking like this, you know. He's looking down at the bear, and the bear's looking up at him like this. And so he took dead aim on that thing. He shot, and that bullet hit him just square in the chest. Well, as the old bear fell forward, that knife blade got there. Same angle. Hit him right in the end of the nose, split him plumb to the end of the tail. Well, the old bear just come out of hibernation. His hide was loose anyway. And he hit the ground so hard, he just shucked him right out of that hide. And come a puff of wind. And they blew it up beside the barn there. Just at that instant, and carpet tacks got there and nailed that hide to the wall. And don't you know, time they got down there, that salt had cured that hide. Now that's about that. With that, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Keller.